Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to look at your life through a totally different lens. We're talking about how to literally play life like a video game. I mean, if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, right? Kind of stuck on default settings or just reacting to things without consciously choosing your response, well, you're definitely not alone. We're diving into some fascinating source material today that shows us exactly how to grab that controller back and wake up from what we call NPC mode, non-player character mode. Trust me, by the end of this, you are going to see your daily routines in a completely new light.
To really get this, let's start with a scenario we can absolutely all relate to. Imagine you're driving. Your foot's on the accelerator. Out of nowhere, a message pops up on your phone. You haven't even read it yet. You've just caught a quick glimpse of the sender's name. And immediately, this tightness hits your chest. Before a single conscious thought even has a chance to form, your body is already reacting. This whole internal narrative just fires up on autopilot. This is going to be a rough conversation. Why now? I knew this was coming. Your hands are on the wheel, sure, but here's the scary part. Something else is actually driving. It's a massive glitch in our default human behavior.
So I've got to ask you a direct question. When that automatic reaction kicks in, which department of your mind is actually doing the driving? This right here, this is the ultimate mystery of NPC mode. When you're operating as a non-player character, your reactions are just running on total autopilot. You aren't playing the game anymore. The game is actually playing you.
Now you're probably thinking, the whole NPC concept is some modern invention from the internet age, right? No way. A metaphysical writer named Florence Scovel Shinn actually mapped this entire phenomenon out over a century ago. She died 12 years before the very first video game was even invented. And yet, she looked at the human condition so closely, she realized people were just living on default programming. They were reacting, repeating, and running scripts they had never actually consciously chosen. Her 1925 book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, is literally the ultimate timeless player's manual. It's a guide for taking back the controller. In it, she breaks down our inner control system into 3 distinct departments of the mind. Let's check them out.
Okay, let's dive into this first department, the subconscious mind. We can think of this as the avatar engine. Now, this engine is insanely powerful, but it's completely blind. It takes in impressions from your repeated thoughts, words, emotions, and habits, but here's the absolutely crucial part. It doesn't judge them at all. It just records, absorbs, and responds. So if you're constantly walking around saying, man, I always fail, the subconscious doesn't stop and say, hey, wait, are you just venting? Nope. It accepts that exact phrase as literal running code to execute, preparing your avatar to live inside that exact reality.
All right, moving to the second department, the conscious mind. This is your command panel. This is the part of us that looks outward through our senses. It sees the bills in the mail, it hears the criticism, it registers conflict. Because it reacts to the visible world around us, it's super important, but it's also our absolute most vulnerable entry point. Left totally undirected, this command panel is the main reason we get stuck in those endless loops. When a bill arrives and the conscious mind just hits the panic button, it takes all that fear and feeds it directly straight down into that blind avatar engine we just talked about.
And finally, we have the third department, the superconscious mind, or what we'll call the higher map. This is the realm holding your absolute highest design. We're talking about a level of awareness that exists completely beyond fear, beyond your habits, and way beyond social programming. There is real, profound guidance here, pointing you toward the life you're actually meant to live. But there's a catch. When you're stuck in NPC mode, you just can't hear it. The sheer volume and noise of the command panel, all that panic, the endless comparisons, the frustrations, it completely drowns out the quiet, steady directions of this higher map.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing it all laid out together. This is basically your cheat sheet for your inner control system. The mechanics are so clear here. You've got the subconscious acting as the avatar engine, blindly recording. You've got the conscious mind as the command panel, super perceptive but highly vulnerable to panic. And then the superconscious as the higher map, holding your highest design. Really take a second to lock this table into your memory, because understanding how these 3 specific gears turn together is the core mechanic of the entire game of life.
Real-world gameplay walkthrough, the surprise bill. Let's see how this actually plays out in real life.
Okay, imagine an unexpectedly massive bill just showed up in your mail. Here is the exact step-by-step sequence of an NPC panic loop. Step 1. Your command panel sees the bill and goes into immediate panic mode, way before you even have time to process it. Step 2, it instantly starts playing the hits. That familiar narrative of, oh, this always happens to me, I can never get ahead, I'm always failing. And then step 3, this is the real danger zone. The avatar engine receives that narrative, not as you just blowing off steam, but as literal programming instructions. It takes that input and just reinforces the fear pattern. The noise gets so loud that your higher map is completely drowned out. And boom, that is one complete loop of NPC mode.
So look at this comparison. How does an awakened player character, someone operating in PC mode, handle that exact same bill? Well, honestly, the body still tightens up. Your avatar's physical stress responses don't just magically vanish overnight. But the absolutely crucial difference is that the player character actually notices the tightening. They take just a single beat of observation before that panic narrative even begins. They literally say to themselves, whoa, I notice I'm starting to spiral here. I am not going to feed that into the engine. The conscious mind isn't trying to fake some toxic positivity, it's just steadying itself. By sending a steady command instead of a freak-out narrative, the subconscious gets a totally different signal. And suddenly, the higher map has the quiet space it needs to actually surface a calm thought, or maybe even a solution. That single beat of observation? That is PC mode booting up.
Real-world gameplay walkthrough, the blank page. Let's look at another scenario we've all faced.
You sit down to write an email, or maybe you're starting a big project. The cursor is just blinking at you, and instantly your inner critic starts firing off insults. This is going to be awful, you have nothing smart to say. You always overcomplicate this. Now, in NPC mode, you totally believe that critic. You accept the bad code, you slam the document shut, and you whip out your phone to just numb out and doom scroll. But look at the PC mode reaction here. In PC mode, you hear that critic, sure, but you don't argue with it. You don't try to aggressively fight it off. You just observe the fear circuit running and you realize you don't actually have to obey it. So, you write one sentence. It doesn't even have to be a good sentence. It's just a move. It is concrete proof that the player has the controller again.
So the crucial point is this: small redirections applied consistently absolutely compound. This right here is Florence Shinn's core systemic rule. You do not win back the controller with some massive, dramatic, overnight life overhaul. That's just not how it works. You win the game of life through these tiny, compounded moments of awareness. It's taking that single beat of observation when the crazy bill arrives. It's writing that one completely imperfect sentence even while your inner critic is screaming at you. These tiny, small moves are what actually rewrite the signals your engine is receiving.
The modern algorithm boss. Okay, now we have to talk about what we're actually up against today.
Remember, Shinn was writing her manual in a world of newspapers, radio, and neighborhood gossip. Today, we are living inside a massive NPC programming infrastructure. Modern algorithms are literally the ultimate boss level of this game. They're incredibly sophisticated attention capture systems. Think about it. They are specifically engineered with billions of dollars behind them to keep your command panel highly reactive, constantly comparing, feeling threatened, and endlessly scrolling. They are optimized to trigger your fear responses in real time and personalized directly to you faster than you can even take that single beat to steady yourself. We've got to realize that every single time we do an unconscious scroll, we are handing the controller straight back to the game world.
But hey, do not lose hope here, because we actually have a massive modern advantage over the players back in 1925. We can literally see the programming. Shinn could only try to describe this invisible metaphysical architecture, but today, we can point to a literal recommendation engine that is actively learning our specific triggers. We have the vocabulary now to talk about algorithms, dopamine loops, and attention capture. And naming the system is exactly the tool we need. Naming it is the very first move toward unhooking from it entirely.
The winning condition. So, what exactly are we playing for here? What is the actual goal?
And this brilliantly illustrates Shinn's ultimate goal. Surprisingly, she didn't define winning the game of life as just achieving standard happiness or hitting some arbitrary level of financial success, or even just having peace of mind. She actually defined it as a shape, the square of life, a square with 4 perfectly equal sides. Shinn argued that most people are out there playing the game of life obsessing over only one single side of this square. Maybe they go all in on career success, or they obsess solely over relationships, while leaving the other 3 sides completely ignored and untouched. And then they sit around totally bewildered, wondering why the game just doesn't feel like a win.
Which brings us to the final and honestly perhaps the most important question you need to ask yourself as we wrap up this explainer. Which side of the square are you currently obsessing over, and what are you totally ignoring? Take a hard, honest look at exactly where your command panel is focusing all of its energy and what parts of your higher map are just being completely drowned out by the noise. Remember, simply asking yourself better questions is the very first move of awakening from NPC mode. So ponder that square for a bit, and we'll see you in the next explainer where we'll dive into the practical rules of play to actually build out all four sides.